Okay guys, welcome back. We finally got the blue customer vehicle in the shop. Okay, what this thing's doing is, for, I don't know, he says better part of a year, it's been parked at another guy's shop because he couldn't get it to run, couldn't get it to start. It'll crank like a bastard. It'll just crank away, but it wouldn't fire. So what he would do, sparingly, he said he would just give it just a touch of ether just to help get it going, and then it would run and no problem. It didn't seem to have any problem with power or anything. Well, let's just try the key here real quick and see what happens. Wait to start light does come on, so that's okay. See what the tach does. Okay, well that's not too bad. That's not too bad. It did kind of sputter there for a second, but nothing I'm really concerned about. Now, when I went and looked at this truck at his house, it was kind of giving us some no start issues there and not being a problem, but now it's starting right up, so it's hard to say really what the hell's going on. So when I saw it at his house, sure enough, you'd hit the key, the wait to start light did not come on, you'd crank it, and the tach didn't move, the engine didn't start, nothing happened. It's like it was saying, hey, the engine's not even on, the fuel pump's not coming on, you couldn't hear it priming up or anything. So, you know, I don't really have a lot of knowledge on these 99s with the VP44. We've got that black one of ours, and it's the same thing. It's a 24 valve with the VP44. So I was kind of lost. I'm like, man, I really don't know. So I did some digging online to see what the heck's going on. There's potentially a lot of problems. It could be with, you know, the electric fuel pump. It could be the VP44 pump. It could be the ECM that controls everything. It could be the crank position sensor. Maybe, I think that somewhere online it said there was a cam sensor. Now I don't honestly know. I'm not really that familiar with these, but I thought, well, maybe it's just got a loose connection or something. So goofing around with a light and just kind of poking around, seeing what I could see, I stuck my arm down in by the starter, trying to feel where that crank position sensor was. Again, I didn't know where the hell it was. But anyway, I wiggled some wires around in there and thought, well, shit, I don't know. Probably not going to make any difference. Climb back up in the cab, hit the key, boom, fucker started right up. Okay. Well, that's odd. And then the tach worked too. So I thought, well, shit, that's probably a pretty good indicator that it's got to be at least in that area of the crank position sensor. So that guy took a couple weeks and hadn't drove it out. He was supposed to bring it out so he could change it or look into it, something. Well, he finally did, and he says, man, I don't know what you did. This truck started right up. I said, I didn't do anything. All I did was wiggle a couple wires. Anyway, he brings it out. It sat out here for a couple days. And when I go to pull it in the shop, no start. Well, that's handy. So again, I popped the hood, reached my arm down in there by the starter. I just wiggled two little wires, and I didn't know if either one of them was the right one. And hopped back up in the cab, boom, started right up. Okay, well then I'd say the problem's definitely got to be down there on that crank position. So I went to the Napa store in town, and they had the crank position sensor on hand, but I told them I also wanted the pigtail. Maybe there's a frayed wire or something there. Anyway, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and replace the crank position sensor, and while I'm down there, I'm going to have a good gander at that pigtail for the crank position sensor, and if that's got any, you know, any indicator of a bad wire or a little bit of too hard of a kink or something in it, we're going to replace that pigtail as well. Okay, let's get after it. Now, as I stated a minute ago, the crank position sensor is down by the starter. You have to remove the starter to gain access to it. So first things first, take your negative cables off. Okay guys, there's our starter. Now there's going to be 3 bolts holding the starter in. Now if I can get the light to hold still, I'll show you right there where the light's beaming. That's your crank position sensor right there. Okay, and that light's getting too bright. It's right there, right in behind your dipstick tube. So I got 3 bolts for the starter, all on the front side. They should all be 10mm 12 points unless they've been swapped out for something else. Okay, and let's get them off. Okay, there it is. Starter out of the way. It's just laying here on the drive shaft. Now, I pre-loosened the screw, so don't worry about that. But that's what the sensor looks like. Well, come on. At least where it's at anyway. There we go. It was right in the side of the block. Now, preliminary thoughts, I thought, man, that wire right there is one of them I was wiggling on. That ground wire. Maybe that could be our problem. And it certainly could be. We're going to have to look that over real close. I don't know. That feels like it's kind of goofy. Now that looks like factory tape, so I don't think that's been messed with. Yeah, that's factory tape. But that alone right there could be part of the problem. We probably should take the grounding bolt loose out of that bracket there, right there. Clean that ground strap up a little bit and make sure that's getting a really good connection. Also, let's look at this. Oh yeah, she's definitely got some wiggle. Now, is it turning up below or is it turning the whole sensor? That's kind of what I want to know. Where are we at here? Okay, right there you can kind of see the base of the sensor. Phone keeps getting in the way of the light and it's not wanting to focus. It does look like it's turning the whole sensor. Okay, that's still kind of weird. It shouldn't really be loose like that, I don't think. It has a has an O-ring inside there. That's supposed to seal any of the oil from the engine. Let's pop this bolt loose here and see if that's any difference inside. Maybe that sucker will just fall out on my hand. Well, the guard doesn't want to come off anyway. It's just evidently wrapped around the sensor. Okay, sorry guys, I had to do this off camera. I had to go ahead and pull the dipstick tube up a little bit. It was starting to hit the square part of this sensor, so it wasn't going to allow it to come out. Once I got that out, she come right out, no problem. Well, let's go have a look at this sensor. So that's it. Nothing to it. It's a 3-wire sensor, so we've got a power in, a ground, and a signal going to the computer. So you should be able to take a multimeter and go across 2 terminals for ground, and the 3rd terminal should give you some kind of resistance when you pass this tip past a metal surface. Usually I like to test them with something like a screwdriver or something. If it's too small to hold on to, then I'll pass it over something metal, you know, like that or something. Works really good if you have the pigtailed stuff in there, and then you can just clip the leads on your wires. So let's see what this will do with the multimeter. Well, I guess first you can see is it at all magnetic? if it is indeed a magnetic pickup. I don't think it's wanting to pick anything up there. Well, so if that's the case, it's not working at the moment. It's not got any magnetism to it. Maybe a slight bit. Yeah, maybe a little tiny little bit. Anyway, let's get the multimeter out and see what she reads that way. Okay, here's our new sensor and pigtail. And we got the test meter here to see what's going on. Remember when I did the magnet thing? Watch this. I'm just going to dangle this right above this little metal clamp. And it's kind of trying to, yeah, see how it's pulling onto that? That old one really wasn't doing that very well. So, what's the reading supposed to be on this guy? I'm going to take my 2 test leads and I'm going to hook up to these here just to see what the ohms resistance is on these little wires going into the sensor. And this is going to be really hard for me to do on one hand. Let me see. And I'm not going to be able to show you the screen right there, am I? Nope. Okay, so let's just put one wire on the yellow one. And now the heater's turning on. Probably not going to be able to hear me very well. So there's one wire. There's the other wire. And looking at my meter, you can't see it, but it's showing, come on, 2.5. Hey, I apologize. I was trying to do this one-handed, and it turned into like a 10-minute video, so I'm just going to give you the basic gist. Checking the resistance in the terminals. We're going to call these, they're both facing the same way, so we'll call them 1, 2, and 3. Okay, on the new sensor, we're getting resistance touching 1 and 3, and then 2 and 3. And if you switch the leads around like so, the resistance would be slightly different, but still we would have a connection. Now, going over to our old sensor, checking between 1 and 3, we would have a resemblance of about the same resistance, but when I'd flip them around, they would not be at all what they're supposed to be. And then connection between 2 and 3 is none. Like on the new one, there is a connection. We have a continuity between 2 and 3, but not on the old one. So the old sensor is definitely giving us a problem currently at the moment. Is there anything we can see? Let's turn the light on here quick. Is there any breaks or malfunctions in the sensor that we can see visibly? Sometimes you'll get a crack or something in them. The tip doesn't look dirty to speak of, really. Doesn't really look like a problem. I'm not really seeing anything wrong with the sensor there that I can see on the camera or without. But there's definitely a malfunction in the sensor. So, before I make this into a 30-minute video, I don't really want to do that. Let's go down and have a look at the pigtail down and under and see if we can see anything with the old pigtail. Maybe I don't need to replace the pigtail and it was just the sensor itself. Okay, after inspection of the wire for the pigtail, I don't really see anything standing out here that says, hey, this is probably an issue. The connector is definitely dirty. We're going to get some connector cleaner and get that blowed out. The back side of the connector looks okay. I don't really see anything wrong there as far as frayed wires or anything like that. It looks pretty darn good. Not really concerned. Nothing's looking like it's broke or exposed or corroded either way. The middle wire is black, same as this wire, but it looks like it's different size. It's probably not a direct connection. And it also looks like that's got a white tracer. So it's not a direct path ground, but I'm guessing this guy is grounding right in here somewhere close. So I'm still going to go ahead and get that ground right there cleaned up reconnected, make sure that's not going to be a problem. Anyway, I don't think we need to replace that sensor pigtail, so let's just get the new sensor down here, get her slapped into place, and get that pigtail cleaned up and reinstalled. And there we go. Now all I did to clean that ground little wire, obviously unscrewed it, but take a good razor blade knife and scrape the dirt and grit and stuff off of there until we got a nice shiny metal surface on both the bracket and on the eyelet, and then spray it off with some brake cleaner, throw her back in place. Went ahead and got the dipstick tube put back on. Just heat it just a little bit with a lighter or something, and then use a pair of pliers to fully seat it all the way down, and that's done. All right, guys, welcome back. Sorry, that was kind of a brief one on that one because he just came and got it quick, and I didn't have the done video, the video of it being done, testing it and so on. Anyway, so we got that thing done. It's gone. Now we're gonna work on that one out front, that old Ford, 86 Ford. It came here for an engine transplant. The 6.9 in it got hot and presumably has a cracked head or a cracked block, so he found another truck. It's got a donor 7.3 IDI in it, and it's waiting. The old 86 is waiting out front here for this engine. Hey, my light's flickering. And the transmission there got rebuilt, new synchros put in it, and so on, so we got to get it all put back in there. So basically it's sitting out there as just a body and frame at the moment. We got to get this 7.3 out of this old girl and get it stuffed in that one. But first, we got to put some batteries in it and make sure the dang thing runs, because it's been sitting for so dang long. I want to make sure it runs and doesn't have any major problems before we go stuffing it in that one. So that's going to be it for this video, guys. If you want to see this next video, doing the transplant, this old turd into that old dog, certainly come along and check on my next videos for upcoming content. So, it's a nice day in December, but we're going to be working in the shop. Seems to be nice anyway. Alright, well, like I said before, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you give me that thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. If you got any questions or comments, certainly hit me up down below. Until the next video, thanks for watching. Catch you later.